gynecologist. The gynecologist was like, reduce your stress. And I was like, I don't have any stress. I'm gonna look it through the project and how I did it. So mental health and its impact of illness. The problem with the study was, despite a growing body of research, yeah, that's what I was telling you. No one particularly understands what goes on between how a person's mindset is and affects their menstrual health, because it's a less studied subject, and usually they don't study women's mental health. They call them psychic or hysteria. There's a lot of prejudice around women's mental health. So yeah, let's discuss about what's mental health first as an introduction. Mental health is a state of mental well-being which enables someone to cope up with stress, realize their abilities, learn well, and also contribute to the community. And next, let's discuss what's menstrual. So menstrual health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, where there is no disease and there is no relationship. So a woman, if she wants to have perfect menstrual health, she should also have perfect mental health as well, and she should also socialize with people as well as contribute to the community. But we don't see that, and no one, and even gynecologists don't emphasize on someone's mental health when a particular patient comes to them. They just ask them, do you have your menses regularly, or do you, how many days do you bleed? What's the duration of your bleeding, and how heavy are you bleeding, or how light are you bleeding? No one emphasizes on the mental aspects and the social aspects of the patient they see. The project. This project was actually, we wanted to investigate the relationship between the mental health and the menstrual health in the female students of this university. So the female students were, as well as the faculty between the ages of 16 to 14 were our study participants, and we collected the data. This is qualitative data using questionnaires and a perceived stress questionnaire. And these are the results of the questionnaire which we analyzed. So we divided the people who responded to the questionnaire into low stress groups, mild stress groups, moderate stress groups, and high stress groups. We found out that people, even though they were less in the high stress group, the ratio of menstrual irregularities in the higher stress group was higher, 29%, at 29:1 ratio, than compared to the low stress group, which means that having a bad mental health does affect your menstrual health or your periods. You won't get them regular if you are not in a good state of well-being, like mental well-being. So I wanted to discuss here that in recent studies they showed that testosterone luteinizing hormone LH, fasting insulin and insulin resistance was much higher in women who had menstrual irregularities or PCOS as in this study. And they also found that cortisol and cholesterol levels were much higher in women who were taking much stress. And the cholesterol, as it binds to corticosteroid protein, when cholesterol has cortisol and cholesterol have a synergistic effect. Like whenever cortisol rises, cholesterol also rises, and this cholesterol goes and binds to the corticosteroid receptors, and then the corticosteroid receptors are like, we are not getting any cortisol. Automatically, the cortisol levels in our body also rises, which leads to more stress. It can also lead to neural damage in a woman. And the conclusion of the project was cortisol does affect the woman, and due to that, so if we want to treat someone's menstrual irregularities, usually as students, we should focus on their mental health first, rather than just giving them like birth control, which is usually medicine used for controlling menstrual irregularities. So if you go to a gynecologist and you complain about having irregular periods, they give you progesterone, like progestin, which is an artificial form of progesterone. So here what you're doing is you're kind of increasing the levels of cortisol more. So instead of getting normal periods, they'll get heavy periods, which will harm their body more. So in the conclusion, I just want to say that if you want to treat a woman's menstrual cycles, you should also study. First treat the mental health, then go to the menstrual health.
So your conclusion will be a stressless education policy should be there.
No, it's not that.
No,
Stressless education.
Stressless education policy.
Yes, sir.
Syllabus will be the same, but how to teach without stress, how to receive without stress is required.
I have a question. Did you share these results with any gynecologists?
No, sir.
Maybe try and see what they have to say.
Yes, sir, I have to consult with them
Yeah.
because this project itself was personal motivation for me. As I told you before, ever since I got my period at 11, the age of 11, and already I had a lot of stress, like parental stress, childhood trauma, and all, and that already had a lot of cortisol in my body. So because of that, I even till this day I don't have regular periods. Whenever I go to the gynecologist, they're like, use birth control. You don't have any other alternative, but it just messes up. Birth control also already causes vision loss, memory loss, and it gave me diabetes as well.
Oh, wow.
It's a personal history of this girl.
There's always the motivation for
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is there any connection between stress and thyroid?
Yes, as I said, stress causes releases of cortisol using the hypothalamus pituitary axis. It can also affect the adrenal glands, which means that in usually hyperthyroid cases, there's a lot of stress. So when cortisol rises, it will fluctuate your thyroid levels.
It'll destroy your internal organs as well.
And she is in second year only.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you focused on the hormonal response
Yes,
of the
sir.
body to a psychological
Mhm.
phenomenon. I'm curious if you further this, if you would look instead of the one point on a survey to ask the respondents 4 times, halfway through the month when
Yes,
you're not
yes.
menstruating, the time period of pre-menstruation, menstruation, and
Yes,
post-menstruation,
yes, sir.
and to see where their stress levels are, because it's possible as they're going into menstruation, it spikes their stress because they know what's about to happen. And so there's some interaction effects that are coming.
Yes, sir. Actually, yesterday we were preparing for this methodology of research, as you said. We wanted to collect blood samples today because we have a blood testing session going on, but to collect